In this lesson, we look at the principle of variability. This is the fourth principle of new media covered in Chapter 1, this one beginning on page 31. The principle of variability states that new media objects are not bound to a single fixed form, but can exist, and often do, in a potentially infinite number of versions. When working within digital workflows, it's quite common to create and edit projects in one format while distributing them in another. And the example I give you in Chapter 1 in Figure 122 on page 32 is this image of a large red boat. The image was saved first in Adobe Photoshop's native PSD file format. However, the program offers lots of options for saving a document file in different image formats. So we can zoom in, a little fuzzy, I apologize, but you can see many of the other formats that I have at my disposal for exporting this image from its native file format as an editable document into a distribution format such as JPEG or PNG or GIF or TIFF, many formats, and you're going to encounter this over and over again as a multimedia producer as you move from program to program. Well, to make this point a little clearer, let's jump over to Photoshop to a familiar image that we covered earlier when dealing with the principle of structural modularity. This is our four-layer graphic that we edited with the sky, the sun, the house, and the person. And if I ever want to make changes to this composite graphic, I need to save it in Photoshop's native file format, which is PSD. You may notice up here, this file is saved as modularity.psd. The .psd indicates Photoshop document, and this is the native format. And the importance of this is that as long as I preserve this image in its native file format, I'll be able to go back later and make changes. Let's say you're creating something and the client likes what you created, but they want to make a change. You always need to keep an editable version of the project so that you can make changes later on. But once I'm happy with this and I want to post it on the web, there are only three graphic file formats that are allowed: JPEGs, GIFs, and PNGs. So I would need to save this document not only as a PSD, but also in a distributable format that is web compliant. So to do that, I would go up and choose the File menu. We can zoom into this, and we can just simply choose Save As. We'll zoom back out. And under Format, I'll zoom back in here, we'll choose JPEG. And we'll select Save. And we have JPEG compression options here. I'm just going to leave this set on maximum, and we'll choose OK. And that image now has been saved in the same location as a JPEG image. So if I wanted to open this up, I can navigate back to my flash drive, and there it is. Now that image has come back into Photoshop. The file name is now modularity.jpg, which is different than the native file format that has a .psd extension on it. And there's differences between the two. The native format preserves the layers, allows me to go back in and edit and make changes as I desire. The JPEG version of the file, which is compatible with hosting on the web, has a single layer called background. And so if I unlock this layer and I go into my design and I pick up an element to move, the whole image moves. This is now a flattened image. JPEG is a flattened image file format. It took those four modular layers that preserved independent control of each of the four elements in the design, and it flattened them into a single layer. So while this is an acceptable format for posting on the web, if all I have to work with down the road is the JPEG image, making changes to this is going to be very, very difficult. But if I maintain a native copy of this file in one place on my hard drive, as well as the JPEG copy, then I'll always have the option to go back in, and let's just say we want to create a variation of this. We'll move the happy person up to the roof again. We'll choose File. We'll choose Save As. We'll make another JPEG copy of this, and we'll call this one Modularity 2, and we'll select Save. And I can now open up that file back into Photoshop, and again it comes in as a flattened image, but I now have two versions. I've sort of messed this one up. two distributable versions, one in the original layout and design, and a second one with the happy person in a different location. And all the while I can go back at any time to my native file format and reposition any of the four elements in the design to make changes as I desire or as I need. So this in effect is the principle of variability. It's the ability that the computer gives us and many of the software programs that we use in multimedia design to create and edit in the native file format of the application. In this particular case, we're working in Photoshop, and the native file format is the .psd format, Photoshop document format, and then to be able to take what I've created and change it, put it into a distributable format such as JPEG or GIF, and save that for use either on the web or perhaps in a print document and so forth. Different file formats are going to be used by you for different purposes, and the principle of variability ensures that we have the option at any particular point in time to transcode files from one format to another to achieve different purposes.